Liftoff will start in T-minus 10 seconds.
Hey everybody, this is Evan and John, and you're listening to the Boomer and X Show.
Welcome back to the Boomer and X Show, and thank you for joining us again on our first Sports Shorts episode after Thanksgiving. We hope you guys all had a wonderful Thanksgiving. Evan, how was yours?
It was awesome.
Excellent. Mine was too. Mine was very, very nice. There were no surprises. I ate a lot of food, and I watched a lot of football, and I visited with family, and then I visited with friends.
So today we're going to do a sports short. We're going to recap some of those NCAA games, some of the NFL games we saw. We're going to talk about upcoming NFL games. We wanted to talk about what is a catch because you see it come up a lot. And first, we want to re-talk about Les Miles at LSU because now we know he is staying there.
And I want to hit this one more time, and we've hit it a lot in the past few weeks, and we're going to, one more time, we're going to do it up really, really good, and then we're going to leave it alone until LSU plays its bowl game. I don't know. I may not even care enough to talk at that point about them. But if you were trying to, A, make your school, your institution, your entire state look bad, if you were trying to make your school administration look bad, you couldn't have done a better job of it than LSU managed to do over the past few weeks.
Why do you say that?
Well, of course, the whole thing starts breaking in the news that Les Miles is probably done, and then it's
that he is done.
And then it kind of grows to he is done,
mm-hmm.
and then it's like, okay, it's done, and one name is out there, and it's Jimbo Fisher, Florida State head coach, who, when we talked about this last week, I said I don't like that.
And he's staying at Florida State.
He's staying at Florida State, and why wouldn't he? But let's just break it down. The athletic director looks terrible.
Well, he left Miles out there hanging in the wind for 2 weeks.
And if this didn't come from, yes, exactly, he did that. And if this didn't come from him, then it looks like he's being undermined by boosters at his school.
Which is pretty much what was going on.
So there's obviously a power struggle. So if he's your guy, Joe Oliva, athletic director, you say he's your guy. If he's not your guy, then find your guy. But here's how you don't find your guy. Now, I'm going to play the part of Jimbo Fisher and an LSU athletic booster right now in this little skit. Phone ringing. Jimbo Fisher's office. Yeah, this is Johnny Big Bucks at LSU, and I would like to talk to Jimbo Fisher about coming to LSU to be our coach. Well, I'll put you right through, Mr. Big Bucks. And Jimbo Fisher picks up the phone, and he answers, and it says, hey, we want you to come coach at LSU. He says, well, I'm doing pretty well here. I'm making $5 million a year. Well, we'll give you $6 million. What's the difference between 5 and 6? And I just won a national championship 2 years ago, and I played in the semifinals last year, and I have a top 10 team this year. But we have gumbo. And, I really kind of like to watch what I eat, so I think I'm going to stay right here. Boom, that's the end of the conversation and the end of the coaching search. That's kind of what I see happen. That's ridiculous.
Were some boosters going after him? I mean, that's exactly what happened?
That's me putting my spin on what it looks like what happened. They had one guy they were going after who would have no reason in the world to leave where he is. To make a lateral move at best, and I would argue that the Florida State program is in better shape than the LSU program.
Yeah.
Why? You go after a guy at a mid-level school that's had a lot of success, he's working his way up, and he's ready to move into a position that has the facilities and the recruiting base that can compete for national championships. Jimbo Fisher already has all of that. He doesn't need to come to LSU to get that. Then you have the fans who are sitting in Tiger Stadium on Saturday night with their signs of support for Les Miles, and who are chanting his name, and who all of a sudden are in love with the coach that pretty much has an 8-4 cap on his coaching ability, with regardless of what kind of talent he brings in. For the fans that couldn't bear the thought of losing Les Miles, I'll see you next year at 8-4, because that's where you're going to be.
So you're saying he's still the problem? It's not because obviously he's going to address this, and hopefully he addresses this issue and makes changes, because if he's not the guy leaving, you would think he's making changes in his personnel and the coaching he has. So you're saying that no matter who he has, it's still him that's the problem?
Yes, because he has had 4 different offensive coordinators in his time at LSU. And there are only 2 years where they had a decent offense, and one was in 2006. It was Jimbo Fisher's last year there as offensive coordinator before he went on to Florida State. And 2 was in 2013 when Odell Beckham Jr. and Jeremy Hill were catching balls. No, Jarvis Landry. Odell Beckham Jr.
Jeremy Hill was
and
running,
Jarvis Landry were catching balls, and Jeremy Hill was running with the ball, and they had a very good offense at the time.
Like we said last week, he seems to trump what the OC is saying and plays they're calling. So,
and I think
maybe if he changes that and keep,
I'm going to say this leopard's never going to change his spots. And then, of course, there's the national media, who you have, I saw 14 different guys telling me they've won 77% of their games and they won a national championship in 2007.
Yeah.
Well, great. One monkey says it and all the other monkeys repeat it. That's lazy research. But the biggest loser in all of this, Texas A&M.
How?
Because they have a big financial and long-term commitment to the one coach that can't manage to beat Les Miles.
Yeah, that does suck.
Anyway, I'm done with it. I'm not going to talk about it anymore. We may discuss their bowl game once we find out who they're playing, but we'll see.
They're going to the New Orleans Bowl.
Well, good. They won't have far to travel. We'll see you next year at 8-4, LSU. Good job.
Moving on, we're going to do NCAA recap, hit some of those rivalry games, and maybe get into the championship weekend coming up.
Yeah, Michigan disappointed me in the way they got totally dominated by Ohio State, and I watched that game. In fact, I watched just about all that game, and Ohio State went with an upbeat offensive tempo, and man, they had Michigan on its heels
42-13. I didn't see that coming.
Long, I didn't either. But I think the best thing that could have happened to Ohio State was losing the week before to Michigan State. Because they played their best game of the year on Saturday. They did.
Yeah.
Their most complete game, their most dominant game against a quality opponent. They had been winning ugly all year long. They finally lose, and then they have that little bit of internal bickering. Everybody gets on the same page of the playbook. And see, that's how a championship coach responds to a loss. Urban Meyer and his team responded to a loss
the way you should and have to.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Florida State, they beat Florida.
I wasn't surprised. Florida had again been winning ugly and having a lot of offensive problems. I don't think I expected 27-2.
Yeah, I know that was surprising.
Yeah.
LSU takes it A&M. I mean, LSU won it at home.
Well, and again, LSU beat A&M with Johnny Manziel. They've beaten him after Johnny Manziel. They just have A&M's number. And again, if I were
they have a defensive coordinator from LSU.
Well,
don't
that's
they?
right. Not only did they beat the great offensive-minded Kevin Sumlin, but they also beat their former defensive coordinator John Chavis. If A&M fans aren't already rumbling about Sumlin, they will be next year.
So that game, I was watching it, and the kicker missed, who has gone almost perfect all year until last week. He missed his first at 24 yards last week, but he missed three in a row.
Yeah.
Now, the wind must have been howling, I'm guessing.
I don't think so.
No? But anyways, so I was saying this joke that the team heard that if they lose, Les Miles gets fired, so the kicker's out there.
Well, and the team was behind him. I mean, and that's understandable. You're close to your coach. You just are, and he's a player's coach.
Exactly. Yeah, he's a player's coach. They carried him off the field when they won.
He did. But, to me, a real player's coach is one that maximizes your potential. That's what a real player's coach is. Clemson had a little more trouble with South Carolina than I thought they would. And I tell you what, I think North Carolina in the upcoming ACC championship game gives them a real viable threat.
Clemson next week?
Yeah, Clemson and North Carolina. North Carolina is 10-1.
I believe number 8.
Sounds about right.
Yeah.
And their only loss was the very first week of the season to South Carolina. Yes, a bad South Carolina team. But I think, if I remember correctly, they threw a couple of interceptions in the end zone. It wouldn't surprise me if North Carolina upsets number 1 Clemson and throws the whole top 4 rankings into a real tailspin.
LSU would end up back in there.
Well, no, this is top 4 in the nation, not top 4 in the SEC West.
The Notre Dame-Stanford game that was my favorite.
Yeah.
36-38.
Yeah.
Stanford beat Notre Dame. That was incredible.
So Notre Dame scores a touchdown with less than a minute to go to go ahead by a point, and Stanford then travels down into field goal range, and the quarterback, I think I saw where he was like 17 out of 21 and 4 touchdowns. That was a great game, and since I kind of enjoy pulling against Notre Dame, that was a lot of fun. Oklahoma State's bad defense finally caught up with them.
Yeah, that was 44?
It was a lot to not much. And you know what? Oklahoma, since that loss to Texas, has probably played some of the best football in the country.
Yeah.
They really have. And so they're done. So the Big 12 doesn't have a championship game. There are a few Big 12 teams in action this coming weekend, but Oklahoma's not one of them. They're done with their season, and I think they have probably won their way into the Final Four.
Alabama, Auburn. Auburn actually put up a pretty good fight there for a while.
They did, and that's not surprising. I mean, they lay it all out for that game. They were at home. Alabama finally wins by a comfortable margin, and I just think Alabama rolls Florida in the SEC championship game like crazy.
Oh, God, yes.
Yeah.
So real quick, next week, some of these championship matchups, I don't see one that I very much like. I mean, we've got, let's see, your alma mater, Louisiana Monroe.
That's not the championship of anything.
Well, I mean,
yeah, they're playing. The Sun Belt Conference has some remaining games. Michigan State and Iowa.
Clemson, North Carolina.
Right.
Yeah, Michigan State at Iowa.
I think
Stanford at USC.
To me, in the Pac-12 you've got Stanford and USC. I'm going to say Stanford in that, although
definitely.
Southern Cal just named their interim coach as their
main coach,
new full-time head coach. We'll see how the kids respond to that. Sometimes that gives a really emotional boost if he's popular with the team. Michigan State and Iowa, I think, is going to be a great game. Iowa's undefeated. Michigan State has 1 loss. And again, Michigan State beat Ohio State at Ohio State, so that's a great win. And you've got North Carolina, Clemson. I think Clemson has been getting it done all year. They beat Notre Dame, they beat Florida State, but I think this North Carolina team is scary.
Watching what happened with South Carolina last week kind of makes me want to agree with you. Yeah,
could be.
Temple, Houston. Is Houston still undefeated?
They are not undefeated. I know that they just gave their coach a raise to try to keep.
They're 11-1.
Yeah,
and they're going up against Temple, who's 10-2. I guess that's big.
That would be I think that's the
ACC?
Conference USA.
Yeah, Conference
USA, I believe, or you know what? That could be the American Conference.
And then we got the Lafayette Ragin' Cajuns against Troy Trojans.
Yeah.
That should be, and that's here in Lafayette. So
it is
against the 3-8 Trojans,
the 4-7
and
Cajuns.
The 4-7 Cajuns.
Yeah, I don't think either one of them's going bowling this year. The New Orleans Bowl will have to find another host team.
Well, I mean, they've been there 4 or 5 years.
I think at least 4 in a row. That's ridiculous. Yeah. NFL coming up. New England falls from the ranks of the undefeated.
This is last week's stuff.
Yeah. They had
that game right there.
That was a great game.
It was, and Brock Osweiler showed up, but ultimately, and you watched it after I did, and I didn't think about it until you told me this. But that barely a holding call.
I really,
or pass interference or whatever they want.
Yeah, I think they call it defensive holding in the end zone, and that wiped out a sack, and it gave Denver a first and goal, in well inside the 10, and the next play I believe was a touchdown pass.
Now, taking that away, something I'm bringing out of this game is a very hurt New England team playing against he's not brand new, he's been with the team 4 years, but he never got to play because Peyton Manning always was out there.
Right.
And C.J. Anderson finally shows up.
C.J. Anderson was big. And you like these big, heavy running backs on a slippery field.
Oh, yeah.
You do. What I've seen, and you and I both saw the headline, and I quote, Tom Brady pissed.
Seething.
Well, I saw pissed off. You saw seething. New England host Philadelphia next weekend. Yeah. It's it is illegal to kill eagles. It is. But I believe the Patriots will be doing some of just that. The Houston Texans.
I was just about to go to that. The Saints game.
Yeah, J.J. Watt was just a monster.
I was playing my brother in
fantasy.
In fantasy football, and I saw he was playing Drew Brees, and I was only down like 20 points, and I had a couple guys, and I was like, I win. Yeah, because as soon as I saw he was playing Drew Brees against them, I knew he wasn't going to get any points.
And that broke a streak of 45 straight games with a touchdown.
With a touchdown, yeah.
I mean, the Houston defense is playing now like
we thought they would
going into the season.
Yeah.
They are getting it done. The Steelers-Seahawks game was an excellent game.
That was a fun game to watch.
It really, really was. And, watching that, I kind of came up with a little bit of theory about why the Steelers' defense is so weak, and I'll put that in quotation marks, weak in quotations. The Steelers' offense, running the way it does, they either score or have to punt very quickly. I think that just by the nature of the way the offense is,
they score too fast.
They're exposing their defense to a lot of time on the field.
Yeah.
Because they had done a pretty good job of shutting Seattle down until the fourth quarter. And, and they ended up losing 39-30. And
you know who the Seahawks, they started using Jimmy Graham finally.
Yeah,
and
see what happened. And I believe I read where the Steelers, of 5 of their losses, they were leading 3 of those games in the fourth quarter, which I think gives a little credence to
they allowed 19 points in the fourth quarter.
Right. But if they've lost 3 of their 5 in the fourth quarter, it gives a little credence to the fact the defense is tiring out because they played hard and they played well and they hit hard.
Yep.
But they tired out late. Now, they get Indianapolis at home this Sunday night game. I like Pittsburgh.
I think they'll do pretty good.
I do too. Yep. But I do believe that I'm not a New England fan. In fact, I was pulling for Denver to win just because.
Me too.
But New England got screwed.
I am. You do think they got screwed?
I do.
Well, I'm under the influence now after watching that game. It doesn't matter who's on the team playing. When those two teams play, it's just going to be an awesome game.
Yeah,
it always is. It doesn't matter who's QB, who's throwing to who. It doesn't matter. That was an awesome game.
It was a great game.
Always is. Hopefully, it always will be. Real quick, Odell Beckham Jr. with that monster touchdown.
He's not human.
The ball was like 4 feet away from him.
I don't know how you get that ball in your hands and
hits the ground
and not lose control.
Exactly.
He's got to have the strongest hands.
So the first time when he did the catch, with the 2 fingers, the league was investigating these gloves. Are they cheating or should we allow them to use the gloves? So they closed it. They said it was all good. I just saw an article today. They reopened that. Every time the guy catches a monster catch, they're going to be like, "Whoa, he can't." These gloves are cheating. So I don't know what's the deal with the gloves issue, but I have a pair of those gloves and I catch way better with them.
Do you?
Way better.
Well, the next time we go out and throw it around, you need to use them.
I will.
So you make me look good. Make me look like Eli Manning. No, I don't want to look like Eli Manning. He threw a lot of interceptions the other day. He's had a bad year.
Yeah,
he has had a bad year.
Early on, I was saying, Victor Cruz is hurt. He's got limited weapons, but I mean, he's just bad year.
He hasn't looked good. He really hasn't. Speaking of catching, and you said you saw where Odell Beckham was
It was an article that it was The Herd. Have you ever heard of that?
I have heard of it.
So Odell Beckham was on there, and he was talking about pretty much the league needs to simplify what a catch is. Like they make it too many rules. Or
I've heard the arguments, and I know that the NFL addresses this. Pretty much every off season, and I've heard the arguments one way or another. And I'm going to be a little sympathetic toward the league here on this particular thing, because no matter how you define a catch, and I believe it's the hardest thing in sports to define, by the way.
I guess I agree.
No matter how you define it, whether you make it harder to make a catch or easier to make a catch, there are always going to be these very small, minutia little things that are either side of the borderline, one way or the other. And I just think it's very hard to do. And again, no matter how you make it, there are going to be a lot of borderline calls each
right now
year.
They define it as a player is in possession when he is in bounds and has a firm grip and control of the ball with his hands or arms. Sounds pretty gray area there.
But then also in the end zone, you have to become a running back. And maybe that's the problem. Maybe
you have to become a runner, yes.
Right, you have to become a runner. And maybe that's the problem. Maybe in the field of play, it's a little different than it is in the end zone.
It says a player becomes a runner when he is capable of avoiding or warding off impeding contact of an opponent. So I guess you catch the ball with both hands, like they say.
Right.
That's a catch. But when you hit the ground and become a runner, if you then lose the ball, it wasn't a catch.
Right.
Okay, I mean, I agree, but there's some of these that where, like you said, in the end zone, where all you have to do is cross the field, the plane, but they then drop it.
Right. If you're in the field of play and you cross over the end zone, I mean, the slightest little thing gets you a touchdown. But if you catch it in the end zone, you have to do a whole lot more with it.
Okay, I'm going back to Des Bryant last year in was it the championships or the
I think it was it wasn't the championship game because
that's right.
Seattle and
it was the
Green
game
Bay.
before.
Yeah,
he caught it. It was like he leans backwards to get forwards to get to cross the field of plane, and he barely does, but dropped the ball. And they said it wasn't a catch at all.
Right, I agree.
You agree that it wasn't a catch?
Yes, because it screwed the Cowboys.
That no matter how many times I see it, that was a catch.
Well,
and
what about the one earlier this year with Odell Beckham Jr. Speaking of,
because they lost that game against
the Patriots.
The Patriots.
Yeah.
I'd have to just watch a replay. What kind of walk me through it? What happened?
Well, he catches the ball, and then
in the end zone.
In the end zone, he catches the ball in the end zone. He seems to have it firmly in his possession, and then, if I remember correctly, a defender knocks it out before he quote becomes a runner.
How many steps does it take to become a runner?
I think it takes.
I guess he didn't ward off.
He didn't because he got it knocked out of his hand. Now, do you have to do that quote warding off in the field of play before you go out of bounds? So it's the same.
Mm-hmm.
That's tough. And again, I'm going to go back to what I originally said. No matter how you define it, there are going to be borderline calls all season long.
If the player loses the ball while simultaneously touching both feet or any other body part of his body to the ground, there is no possession.
And I think that's what happened with Beckham against New England a few weeks ago. They'll address it again. They'll talk about it again. I think what I like to see them get rid of more than anything else is that stupid rule
out of the end zone thing.
If you lose the ball out of bounds at the 1 foot line, it's your ball there. But if it bounces into the end zone and then out of bounds, it's the other team's ball. It's a touchback. Get rid of that stupid.
I don't remember
rule.
The game or who did it, but somebody did that on purpose, where they slapped it out of the end zone. They said he did it on accident. Now, what is up with
that was a few weeks ago. I think that was a game involving Seattle, and that was a bad call. The ref was looking right at it.
Yeah, and he said he didn't do that on purpose.
Right, he clearly did.
I agree that's one of these rules.
And that was just a bad call, and there have been a lot of those.
Yeah. Now, the catch, like you say, I mean, I don't know. I just think when you see a person and they catch the ball and they cross, I'm talking mostly catch it, cross
and then cross over
the plane. Not necessarily these open field catches or anything.
I think the hardest is defining the catch in the end zone.
Mhm.
I believe what you're talking about is usually pretty straightforward and doesn't lead to as many controversies. But I know they'll address it, and I know next year there'll still be the same
There will
conversation
still be
going on.
having this, yeah. We have upcoming NFL games this week that, I kind of want, just glancing,
Mhm.
I wasn't very excited.
I believe Eagle stew being served up in New England will be interesting.
That's going down for sure. And another thing is the Saints, they're at home, but the Panthers are
The
coming
Panthers.
back.
We didn't even talk about how the Panthers dominated Dallas last weekend in Dallas. By the
Yeah,
way,
that's true.
that was depending on which line you looked at. The Panthers were either a 1-point favorite or a 1-point dog, or it was a pick'em. I mean, it was right there within, right at a pick'em in the line, and the Panthers took that as disrespect, and they go in and they beat the snot out of Dallas in Dallas on Thanksgiving Day, and Romo's done for the year.
Yeah, and we're going to get to that in the Packers going into Detroit. Now, we had a conversation back when they were undefeated. Who do we think's going to stay at the top and all this? And they were on that list.
They were,
and they fell off very fast.
They've
They're
lost
7-4, and I mean the Detroit Lions are 4-7. But man, the way they've been playing, I don't know if I want to say Detroit won't lose.
I don't know. They've lost 4 out of 5. The Packers have lost 4 out of 5, and offensively, I believe the absence of
Nelson, it definitely has changed their. That's the go-to guy.
Now tell me this: who's had more attrition this year and losses due to injury? Green Bay or New England?
New England.
Exactly.
So are you saying it's Aaron Rodgers and?
I love Aaron Rodgers. I'm a big Aaron Rodgers fan, but
Ditto.
Oh my God, Tom Brady. And I'm not even a fan of New England, and I'm not even a fan of Tom Brady, but
respect where respect is due.
Yeah.
Cheater and all.
The Battle of New York comes up with the Jets and the Giants.
That'll be a good one. I like that one.
I'm going to say the Jets.
Yeah, Jets at the Giants, right?
Yeah.
So,
You going to go with the Giants?
I'm going to go with the Jets, too.
You going with the Jets?
Jets defense is definitely doing what I thought they would.
Yeah, they're looking good. And
and
they pummeled Miami last week, who got rid of their offensive coordinator, by the way.
This week?
Yeah.
Not a huge surprise.
Well, no, they stunk. So maybe they'll get 2 wins out of this. They got 2 wins out of firing their coach. Maybe they'll get 2 wins out of firing their offensive coordinator, and then that'll get them close to the end of the season. They can fire somebody else for 2 more wins.
So one I know you'll watch is Indianapolis at Pittsburgh.
I will. It is the Sunday night game. Big Ben, I believe he'll be fine with his concussion protocol. He has all of his weapons. They are desperate now because of that loss, and Kansas City's won their 5th game in a row. The Steelers are no longer. If the season were to end today, they're no longer a wild card team.
That's true.
Right? So they're desperate.
And so are the Indianapolis Colts. They're both of these teams are 6-5. Without luck there, I
like Pittsburgh.
Think,
I like Pittsburgh's offense and their weapons, and as long as Ben is healthy,
they need to learn how to not burn out their defense.
They do,
and I think they will be a pretty domination force
if they can get in the playoffs and enter it healthy. They might make some noise, but they've got to protect their defense a little bit.
Bears 49. Okay, so we got the 49ers going into the Bears. 3-8 49ers against the 5-6 Bears.
The Bears have played better of late since Cutler came back off of that injury, and the 49ers are one of the worst teams in the league. I've got to like the Bears in that one. Who are the Cowboys playing?
The Cowboys are at home versus no. They're going to the Redskins.
You know what? The Redskins are actually playing the best ball in that division right now. I believe the Redskins will win the division, and I believe they will take care of the Cowboys this weekend.
I think
Kirk Cousins actually, turned the corner and is playing pretty decently.
Atlanta Falcons, they're going at Tampa Bay. Now, they don't have Devontae Freeman back yet. I think he's still on concussion.
Yeah, because the other dude played this week. Matt Ryan has turned to crap. Julio Jones really isn't getting big numbers. And here's something: Atlanta has lost 5 of their last 6.
They've dropped
after
off
winning
fast.
their first 5.
I think it got bad once they went into the Superdome. I mean the The
Yeah,
Superdome.
yeah, they lost.
Once they win the Superdome and lost against the Saints, they've been downhill
They've
since
been
there.
bad. Yeah, they have.
Another one that I'm not hugely excited about: Arizona at St. Louis. 4-7 Rams.
The Rams will beat teams they shouldn't beat and
That's
lose
so
to teams
That
they
is so
shouldn't
true.
lose to.
I was about to say I don't want to call it a blowout on the air for Arizona because
but
you never know.
You never know what the Saints, what the Saints. You never know what the Rams are going to give you. But they are so one-dimensional on offense. When Todd Gurley first started playing, coming back from his injury, he was tearing it up. Well, now all
Shut him
teams
down.
have to do is just shut him down because they have no QB play whatsoever.
Wow, is that it?
That's it. Let's do a little mad dash.
I want to open this up with Tim Tebow news.
Hit me with it. What's going on with Tim? Let me guess. The Cleveland Browns are going to give him a tryout for quarterback.
Yeah, they should.
They should.
They should.
They should. I mean, they should.
I heard they just signed some guys like a ILB, but also maybe quarterback.
An inside linebacker?
Yeah.
That sounds like a Cleveland move. That sounds like a Cleveland move.
All right, so anyways, his girlfriend, ex-girlfriend, Olivia Culpo, who was Miss USA, former Miss USA, just broke up with him because he wouldn't have sex with her.
Okay. I have a theory about that.
What's that?
I'm not going to say it.
Okay.
I have a theory. And I'm being serious.
I could only imagine.
Okay.
So, for once, it's not Tim Tebow who's having trouble scoring. It's his girlfriend.
Well, I'm sure she won't have trouble much longer.
Injuries. We've got Gronk. It was like a helmet to the knee or something.
Yeah, it wasn't a helmet. It was not a dirty hit at all.
Oh, no. He was
it-
in the air,
yeah,
and it was like
happens.
his knee hit someone's helmet.
It happens.
Yeah, it wasn't a dirty play
No.
at all. It was like a bruised bone or something. I
Yeah.
don't think he'll be out long. 50-50 right now.
Yep.
Big Ben, he took a knock on the head.
He's got,
He said his peripheral was watery. He said it was like looking through water. So
That's interesting.
and he blamed it on a migraine after taking a lick to the head. So they're like, and he put himself in
He did.
the protocol.
He did.
The coach kept him there.
Right.
So, I'm pretty sure he'll play.
I think he'll be back, and I think he'll be fine. Although in our fantasy team, I want an angry.
Well, man. You got an angry, seething.
Yes,
Tom
Tom Brady
Brady.
going up against Philadelphia, who
But with limited weapons.
Right.
But like you were about to say,
Right.
Philadelphia's
is
giving
giving
everyone
up
touchdowns.
900 points a game. Yeah,
But then you got Big Ben.
with all of his weapons.
That's a tough one, but I think we're going to go with
I think we're
Brady.
going. I think we'll go with Brady and keep. And like we did a couple of weeks ago, we will be playing Ben because we are playing Antonio Brown and Martavis Bryant.
Good point.
And by the way, Antonio Brown is going to go off because Richard Sherman shut him down last week.
He absolutely did.
Yeah, so he'll go off.
We've got also Romo and McCown both broke their
Clavicles.
clavicles.
Yeah, the
And Romo,
collarbone.
it was the same one he just
Same
got
one,
back from.
yeah.
So poor
Yeah.
guy.
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, he's gone. You knew it when he went down. You knew
Oh,
it when he went
God,
down on that
yes.
left shoulder.
Yeah.
And McCown again. The Cleveland. I just have to laugh at the Browns.
Knowing Menzel, I bet he was over there laughing.
Probably. I really think they ought to give Tebow a look. Because
Do you really?
I do, because he's got a lot of time on his hands. He's not dating right now.
Brock Osweiler with Denver. I think he fits perfectly with that hybrid offense, which is something the tactician Peyton Manning just couldn't do. He kept not that he couldn't do it. I mean, he fit into it, but he was trying to make it his own. Where Kubiak kind of was like, "No, I want it to." Do what I want you to do, and Peyton wants to do his thing. I think Brock going out there and using this offense shows that it can work.
Week to week to week, we will see how it goes, and as Peyton becomes healthier,
I think he'll be back in one more week. I mean,
You think so?
Yeah.
You think he'll get a starting job back,
Oh yeah,
even if Osweiler goes 3-0?
dude, it's Peyton Manning.
I understand that, but
This season-
he was not playing well before he went out.
This season, Peyton Manning will play every game he's healthy. Maybe not next year.
Okay.
Okay. Another thing I noticed about Brock Osweiler, he was hitting all these random receivers that I didn't even know their names, and I call myself a Broncos fan, and I guess it was because he plays with these second string
guys that
he's used to hitting these guys. So
they have their chemistry, they have their
Exactly.
timing down. It was really strange the other night. Demaryius Thomas couldn't catch a cold.
And I think that's because Osweiler isn't used to.
I think
throwing it to him.
Demaryius was having a bad game. He'll come back.
Oh yeah,
He'll bounce back.
Let's see, what else we got? The Warriors.
Warriors are 19-0. That sets a record, right?
Oh, they set the record at 16-0.
Right.
So yeah,
well, each time sets a new
they're
record.
rolling. And before we started the podcast, you asked me, will the Warriors lose before the Sixers
win? And just as we were going to record this, we saw that the Sixers beat the Lakers.
Beat the Lakers, who were like the second to last right now.
Right.
Also, Kobe Bryant announced he's retiring. So
didn't we already know that?
we knew it, but he did it with the poem and all that. I guess that was midweek, but we haven't talked about it. So on the podcast.
Right. Yeah. Okay. It's not new. I mean, it's not news because we
all knew
he
it was
going
coming.
to.
I mean, but dude's the best.
Those that
best
follow
of
the
era.
NBA say he's one of the greatest top 10 players of all time. Those that follow
10, the top. I mean, he's the best player of this era.
No, all time. One of the top 10 of all time.
Okay. Yeah, I agree.
Okay.
Do you not?
I haven't. I promise you, I haven't followed the NBA since I lived in Houston when they won back-to-back championships in the mid '90s.
Wow.
I just haven't.
Well, he definitely.
And I was watching ESPN the other day and Sports Center, and they were showing an NBA highlight where a guy took 8 steps, and wasn't called for traveling. I'm like, no, I'm not watching this crap. I mean, it's like watching an NFL game, and a guy goes out of bounds for 4 steps, and then he comes back in and scores a touchdown, and they say it's good. No, I'm not watching the NBA. I'm just not. So I haven't. So I couldn't tell you how great Kobe is, but everybody says he is, so I'll go along with that.
Yes. And Warriors point guard Steph Curry, who I believe has sold his soul to the devil because the guy just can't miss. He, right now looking at him, if he stays healthy and continues to play this way, he will join Kobe Bryant on this list one day.
I did see where someone he was the MVP last year, right?
Yes.
And allegedly he's playing lights out better this year than last.
Oh, yeah.
So there you go. MVP again.
Yeah,
if he stays healthy.
I mean, you
if
can't say that. And I mean, they've got 100 games left to play. But
Yeah.
I guess that wraps up this episode. If you want to get a hold of us, an easy way to do that is on Facebook. We have the Boomer and X Show on Facebook. We have our Twitter handle at Boomer and X Show. And our cozy little home on the internet, theboomerandxshow.com, on our website. And you can also go and contact us and send us an email. We love all the feedback we've been getting. It's exciting just to get random people telling us good job or topic ideas. So keep those coming, and we appreciate all y'all listening. And John, I'm all out of words.
And I was all out of words about 35 seconds ago.
All right, well, that does it for this Sports Short episode. See y'all next time.